happy that you have joined us tonight to talk about financial aid award notifications, financial aid packages, to talk through what you're seeing when you look at a financial aid package, understanding what it means and what you might owe when you're navigating through that. And then hoping that you're going to learn that if you have questions, that in the financial aid office we are here to help and answer questions. I am joined by some of my colleagues from the office. Our director, Don Harrod, is on with us tonight, as well as one of our financial aid counselors, Leon McBain. So they'll be fielding your questions throughout the night. We're going to cover looking at the financial aid offer, types of financial aid, how billing works here at UNC Greensboro. And just as a point out, feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A chat box. So chat is disabled, but the question and answer section is. So please feel free to utilize that tonight to ask questions as we're going through the presentation. All right, let's get started. So financial aid basics, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because hopefully the fact that you're here wanting to know about the financial aid package means that you've kind of done all of the pre-things, right? So we know that it can be overwhelming, but as long as you're following main steps every year, you're going to get through it. So the first thing and most important is to file the FAFSA every year, and you do that at studentaid.gov. Our priority filing date for this year was March 1st, so that has come. Know that the priority filing date is a date that we set to determine the date for which we award some of our limited institutional resources, right? So it doesn't mean that if you haven't filed your FAFSA yet, or that you are going to file it coming up, that you're not going to get a financial aid package. It just means that we have some limited funds, and if you didn't meet that priority filing date, that you might not be considered for those. Uploading requested documents. You may have some outstanding requirements that you need to get to us before we can put together a financial aid package, so please take care of that. We are going to cover viewing and accepting your award and some of the information about student loans tonight. So the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. You fill that out at studentaid.gov. It is filed every year, so it's important that you remember that between hopefully October of next year, the FAFSA will open again, and so you'll be filing that for the next year. Upon completion, we get an SAI, or Student Aid Index, which is a number that schools utilize to determine how much aid you're going to be eligible and what type of aid. Know that the reason you file the FAFSA every year is because that student aid index can change based on the information that's reported on the FAFSA. If you're working on filing the FAFSA and you're having trouble, certainly Federal Student Aid, the Help Center, unfortunately, we don't have access. We can help you with the process, but if there are problems, really studentaid.gov is where you would get that help. Okay, so I've done the FAFSA, now what? Well, first of all, congratulations. The last couple of years of filing the FAFSA have been difficult, and we know that more than anything. So if you've navigated that process and have been successful, congratulations. And know that once we receive your FAFSA information and you've been admitted to the university, we generate a financial aid package for you that we send a notification to the student. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a quick survey here. Bear with me while this loads. Just so that we can get an idea of the people who are on this phone, there's a QR code and a link on there to let us know if you have completed a FAFSA and received a financial aid offer. So I'll give you just a couple of minutes to get in and, excuse me, answer that question. Hopefully my link will work here and it'll populate as you answer. So we'll give a pause. But we're getting quite a few responses here. It looks like people who are responding have completed their FAFSA. We've got a few that haven't, and that's okay. Like I said, there is still time for you to get that filed. Just a couple more minutes here to let the data come in, and then we'll move on our slides. Right, I'm going to move on. So 90% response rate that you've actually filed your FAFSA and have received a financial aid offer. That's awesome. So let's move on. So let's look at the financial aid package that you have received. So we're going to walk through that. When you are on your admissions portal, you'll get a look and you're going to look for the financial aid tab and you're going to click on that. And once you're in, it will indicate that your financial aid package is available under financial aid. And everyone will see this. Now, I'm going to point out that there are a few important things when you're looking on this page. It will tell you that the award totals displayed are current as of, and it has a date. The timing from our system to what updates in your admissions portal may take a day or so for it to update. So know that if you use UNCG, which is our student information system, which is where you're going to accept your financial aid award offer, that will have real-time award information. I know that there are some departments that are still putting together scholarship offers for those who are auditioning, maybe in the School of Music, who may have applied to the UNCG Guarantee Program. There are still some of those awards that are outstanding. And so what you see right now in your portal here may update as time goes on. So just look at that date. So that will be the date that is active of the information. Also, there is a great reference guide to understanding your offer, which will summarize a lot of the things that we're going to talk about and break down the elements in the financial aid package. So I'm going to move on, but know that there's a lot of good information and good links that are contained in this first part of the financial aid offer. One of the things, and before I get started, that can be most confusing to students is talking about cost of attendance. And in the financial aid office, we know what we're referring to when we talk about cost of attendance, but I just want to help explain that. Cost of attendance is an estimated budget of what a student may spend over the academic year that is based on cost of living calculations, surveys of our students, other data gathered from the state. And it's used to determine the maximum amount of financial aid a student can receive. It is provided each year as a budgeting guide. Please know that the cost of attendance is not the bill, but it's a framework that we use to generate the financial aid packages and the limit, and as it says, the maximum amount of financial aid that a student can receive. So let's look at the estimated cost of attendance. Again, not the bill, just a sample for an on-campus in-state student and an on-campus out-of-state student. So you'll see that fees, books, housing, food, loan fees, personal miscellaneous are all the same. The difference for our out-of-state and in-state students is the tuition and transportation, because we know that our out-of-state students are probably traveling a little bit further to get to campus each year. So I want to show what you will see when you look at your financial aid award notification. I want to point out, and it's highlighted here on the out-of-state side, that it says you are expected to be charged out-of-state tuition. It's important to know that residency is not determined by UNC Greensboro. Residency is determined by the state of North Carolina, and that is done at ncresidency.org. Here is a link, and that link that's on this page next to the highlight where it says learn more here will take you to the NC Residency for Tuition Purposes page of our website, and it gives the link to RDS. So all students do need to complete NC Residency to have in-state tuition. If you are an in-state student and you see that you are classified as out-of-state on your financial aid award notification, please go here, complete RDS, and follow the instructions to get us that information, and we will adjust your financial aid award accordingly. Okay, so back to these pictures. So on one side, you will see the financial aid breakdown for in-state. Now I'm going to point out a couple of things. For our in-state student, you'll see that there are not any campus housing or campus meal plan. So this in-state student may be a commuter student. They may be someone from a surrounding county and are going to be coming here to Greensboro for school. The out-of-state student does have the tuition and fees, as well as their on-campus housing and meal plan costs listed. In the next section, it identifies any grants or scholarships that the student has been offered. And then the second section is the student loan money that students have been offered. Now, I will tell you that when you accept and go in to accept your financial aid award, grants and scholarships are in an accepted status. So we know that nobody turns down the free money. So those are already accepted. But student loans are considered self-help, and you do have to indicate to us when you go in to UNCG that you will want to accept those. We're going to talk a little bit more about the different types of grants and student loans here in a few slides. So once you see that financial aid award notification, the next thing that you might see is one of two things. You may see an estimated remaining balance, which is your costs, those direct costs up at the top of the slide, minus any grants, scholarships, and loans, and what the balance might be. Or you may see that those direct costs, so for this column, tuition and fees, housing and food, the student actually still has a balance due. So we'll talk a little bit about the remaining balance of zero. If your financial aid is more than what you need to pay to the university and you're accepting all of that aid, you may be eligible for a refund to help with other educationally related expenses. And we're going to talk about that in the next slide, including off-campus costs of living. And we'll go through some of that information. I will tell you that the refunds are processed by our cashiers and student accounts office, and they're not here with us tonight, but a little plug for them. On Spartan Central, under the tuition and billing section, there's information about refunds and how to set up direct deposit for those refunds if you are due one. It is the fastest way to get any extra money above and beyond what your direct costs are. On the other side, for students who have a balance, in addition, it will show information about a payment plan. Again, the cashiers and student accounts office does have a payment plan option, and it talks about how you would make those payments. Depending on when you set it up, you can set up a 5-payment plan each semester to pay a remaining balance on a monthly basis. So our next slide talks about indirect costs, right? So in addition to the things that you're paying to UNC Greensboro, tuition and fees for certain, housing and food if you are living on campus, you will have indirect costs. And those are those things that we know students have as expenses, and we want to share those for budgeting for college. And so books and supplies, we include that as part of the cost of attendance. Transportation, I mentioned the cost of getting a student to and from campus at the beginning and end of each semester. Maybe we just finished spring break, so maybe home for spring break. Loan fees. If students are accepting loans, we do include the fees that the Department of Education charges as part of the cost of attendance. Off-campus housing. So we allow an allowance for off-campus housing and food if a student is living at home or in an off-campus apartment. So you will see on that financial aid award information, you will see those estimated indirect costs as well. Now know that you're not going to get billed for these things, but financial aid up to your total cost of attendance can include the coverage of these items. So now let's look a little bit about the different types of financial aid. So grants and scholarships, that's the free money. So anything that's listed as a grant or a scholarship is something that you will not have to repay. It is based on need potentially. So based on the results of your FAFSA, you may qualify for some of the things. It may be based on merit. So academic merit, maybe you have a scholarship based on athletic performance. Maybe you have auditioned for one of our performing arts and you're getting a scholarship based on that audition. All of that money is free money. Again, does not have to be repaid. So just some information about the different items. So federal Pell Grant is the federal grant that's awarded to undergraduate students. Federal SEOG, the acronym is Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. It is for those students who are eligible for the most amount of Pell Grant. They are also eligible for a supplemental grant. The state of North Carolina offers free money in the form of the Next NC Scholarship, and we've got some slides coming up about that. And then UNC Greensboro has free money that we offer to students as part of the admissions application. The UNCG Chancellor Scholarship, Spartan Scholarship are some of the things that you may see on there, as well as Blue and Gold Merit Scholarships. So when you're looking at that grants and scholarship section, again, anything that's listed there is free money. So the federal Pell Grant, just a little bit more information. It is a federal grant awarded to first degree undergraduate students only. The amount is based on your student aid index and the number of credit hours. So we look at enrollment intensity. You can get Pell Grant for any amount of credit hours, but it is prorated. So if you are in 9 credit hours, you might not get as much Pell Grant as if you were in 12 credit hours, but know that if you're enrolled in 9, you won't be charged as much. So it is prorated that way. You do have to file the FAFSA every year to determine your eligibility. And as I mentioned before, amounts differ depending on that student aid index. For the upcoming school year, the maximum Pell Grant is $7,395 with a minimum of $740. So there is a maximum and minimum on the Pell Grant. So what about the Next NC Scholarship? Next NC Scholarship is for our North Carolina residents. Again, in order to be eligible for the Next NC Scholarship, you do have to complete the NC residency at ncresidency.org, and you do have to file the FAFSA to determine your eligibility. The Next NC Scholarship is available to undergraduate students who are enrolled in at least 6 or more credit hours. The limits on the Next NC Scholarship for households who have an adjusted gross income as reported on the FAFSA of $80,000 or less. And then a student aid index at or below 7,500. There is no additional application for the Next NC Scholarship, just filing the FAFSA and then completing the NC residency part of on ncresidency.org. So the next section that we want to talk about are federal student loans. Again, federal student loans are optional. They do have to be repaid, so you do have to accept them. through the UNCG system. Just to give you a little bit of information. And I wanted to put in another quiz to see how many of you may have gone to another type of financial aid presentation to ask about the difference between a subsidized loan and an unsubsidized loan. But I'll share that with you. Federal direct subsidized loan is need-based. So again, the results of the FAFSA. There is no payment during the time that the student is enrolled, plus a 6-month grace period. And during that time, the enrollment plus that 6-month grace period, there is no interest that will be accruing on a loan. So on a subsidized student loan, the federal government is subsidizing the interest. They're taking care of the interest for you. The interest will begin 6 months after you cease to be enrolled at least half time. Hopefully that's at graduation. And then that's when you would begin payment, and that's when the interest would start on a subsidized student loan. Now, on an unsubsidized loan, the key part of that is the 2 letters unsubsidized meaning not subsidized. So on an unsubsidized loan, the big difference is the interest. Students do not have to make payment during the time of their enrollment, but the interest will be accruing. And students can choose when they're going through the promissory note process. Promissory note is a requirement that the Department of Education has. Basically, the student is promising to repay their student loans. They can choose whether or not they want to pay the interest while they're in school or just have it added to the balance that they pay once they complete. There are federal loan limits that are based on grade level. So our first year students, somebody between 0 and 29 credit hours, the maximum amount of student loan in combination between subsidized and unsubsidized is $5,500. No more than $3,500 of that can be subsidized. So you'll see that in the example that $3,500 is subsidized and the remaining $2,000 is unsub. For a sophomore, second year student, $6,500 is the limit. And then a dependent junior and senior, the amount increases to $7,500. I see that there is a typo on my screen. Actually, no. The 24-25, that's the year that we are currently in. The interest rate on a subsidized and unsubsidized for undergraduate students is 6.53%. Now I said typo because I'm thinking that the upcoming year is the 25-26, but we won't know what that interest rate is until approximately June is when the interest rates for the upcoming year are published. So giving you this information based on the current year interest rate, we'll have to wait and see what those interest rates are as we get closer to the summertime. So you've looked at that financial aid award notification. You've looked at what your costs are, what the types of aid that you've been packaged with are. Now, how do you accept that aid? The first step would be to go to UNCG. There is a link at the top of any Spartan Central page. You'll want to log in with either your iSpartan account information or your student university ID number and PIN. So your iSpartan account would be your UNCG email address, and the university ID and PIN, your university ID number starts with an 88, and you would create the PIN following instructions. Once you've logged in, you'll go to the financial aid section in UNCG and click on the award. You'll select the 25-26 award year. And once you've done that, you'll be able to look at the award overview, and then it'll list those student loans in an offered status. If you choose to accept them, you can choose to accept all. You can accept a partial amount. Maybe you only need a little bit of the student loan money, or you can decline. Please know that if you decline aid, that doesn't mean that it's gone forever. You could always come back to us later and say, you know what, I declined student loan money, but I really think I need to accept it, and we can go ahead and reoffer it to you without any trouble. So know that if you do decline aid, And that's one of the reasons that the free money is in an accepted status, because if it's declined, it might get given to someone else, and we don't want that to happen. But student loan money is certainly something that you can have reoffered to you later on if you choose to decline it. Okay, some other types of aid, things that might be awarded by the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships would be federal work study. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Outside scholarships, and then additional loans. So let's look at these individual things. So in your award notification, you may have seen federal work study as additional financial aid. Here at UNC Greensboro, we offer federal work study up to $3,000 annually. If you qualify to receive additional financial aid through the work study program, you will have the opportunity to apply for a work study job on campus that pays you throughout the year. Work study funds do not get applied toward your tuition and fee charges. You actually get a paycheck just as you were working a job, maybe at a local restaurant or at a business. You are eligible to receive up to $3,000, which is $1,500 a semester. And you can visit the Career and Professional Development Office, their website, to link to something called Handshake. You actually have to accept work study through UNCG. That's just like the student loans you would go in and accept. Know that if you do decline work study, it may get offered to someone else. So if you're thinking about it, you want to accept it, you can always decline it later. But if you don't want the work study, we will issue that to another student, because quite often we have a waiting list for students who may not have had it originally, but who do want to work on campus. Again, you receive a monthly paycheck. It is not applied to the bill. We update the award in UNCG. Once you are registered for classes, you can then begin searching for jobs using the Career and Professional Development's app Handshake. And then again, you earn up to the award each semester, so you qualify. Work study is really handy to handle those personal miscellaneous expenses that are part of the cost of attendance, or maybe cover transportation, getting to and from campus, because you earn that on a monthly basis. Outside scholarships. Outside scholarships can come from a variety of sources: religious institutions, high schools, civic organizations, veterans groups, employers, any number of organizations. Please note that if you are receiving an outside scholarship, you need to notify UNC Greensboro's Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships about that as soon as possible. You can notify us by sending us a copy of the letter that you may have received from the scholarship organization, something that says, "Congratulations, Roberta, you are the recipient of this scholarship." Or, and I'll tell a little story here, sending us a picture of you in the big check that shows that you were awarded a scholarship. I actually had a mom several years ago who took that to heart and sent me a picture of her son with that big check and the donor and her in a big happy picture. And so a couple of years later, I was doing a presentation much like this, and it was in person. I was presenting to a group of students and their families, and I made that reference, and I heard some laughing from the back of the room. And I thought, did I say something wrong? What happened? And lady in the back raised her hand and she said, "That was my older son. I'm now here at UNC Greensboro with my next son. And we have another picture to send to you." So we will take that notification. If the correspondence does come to us, please make sure that we have your student ID, your name, and the semester for which the scholarship is supposed to be awarded. So if it is a scholarship for the fall, we need to know that. If it comes in just as an amount, we will split the scholarship, half for the fall and half for the spring semester. Again, some other outside scholarship organizations that offer scholarships. I won't read them all, you can see them. But there are lots of local organizations that provide scholarships to UNCG students. So the next resource is the Federal Direct Parent Plus Loan. The Plus Loan is a federally sponsored loan that parents can apply for. It is available to cover up to the cost of attendance minus any other financial aid. So unlike the subsidized and unsubsidized where there's a grade level limit, there is not a dollar limit on the Plus Loan. It is cost of attendance minus other financial aid. When you complete the online application process at studentloans.gov, you will be asked to either put in a specific amount that you want to borrow, or you can select the maximum, and then we would certify that loan for the cost of attendance minus other financial aid. The application for UNCG Plus loans will be available June 1st. And the reason for that is because it is a credit-based loan, and the credit decision is only good for a certain number of days. So if we opened it up now, the likelihood that that credit decision would expire by the time school started in August is high. So we just wait to make sure that those credit decisions are still valid when school starts and those loan funds come in. The interest rate for the current year on the Plus loan is 9.08%. And again, like the subsidized and unsubsidized loan, we will know what the interest rate for 25-26 is as we get closer to the summer. So as I mentioned, the parent loan is credit based. If credit is approved when you go through the process, of course, we would add the loan to the student's financial aid award package. If credit is denied, you've got a couple of options. The first option that you're presented with is to obtain a cosigner. The second is to complete an appeal to the Department of Education, not to the university. We're not notified of reasons for credit denials. But if there's something that might be an extenuating circumstance affecting your credit, you can certainly complete that appeal process. The other option is that you would select that you do not want to pursue that loan any further. So you know that you don't have an endorser, there is no extenuating circumstance, so you're not going to pursue it. If you choose that option, your student may be eligible to receive an additional unsubsidized loan of up to $4,000 for the academic year. And we would go ahead and put that in an offered status, and the student would have to go in to get that accepted. The last option that you're given is undecided. I don't recommend choosing this unless you're really trying to decide between getting a cosigner. But what we've done is, because often undecided families leave it in that status, we take the same action as we would on a will not pursue. And if a student has room, we would offer them the additional unsubsidized loan as well. So additional institutional scholarships. UNC Greensboro has Scholarship Universe. We are very proud of Scholarship Universe. Students who are registered and active students are able to apply for institutional scholarships through our internal portal. All of their information gets loaded into the system. We have a handful of scholarships that students actually have a separate application for. So once they're here and a student, they will be prompted if there is an institutional scholarship that might require an application. Otherwise, they're direct match. What that means is that all UNCG students have their information basic information in Scholarship Universe. And that information is presented to the different departments on campus when they start making their decisions for the upcoming academic year as to who they're going to award scholarships to. Now, I will tell you that Scholarship Universe also has an outside scholarship search. And as students log into Scholarship Universe and answer questions, they are matched to external scholarships. So if you remember a few slides back, I talked about the different sources for outside scholarships. Scholarship Universe provides a search engine for students to do those searches for external scholarships. Know that if you do match to an external scholarship, that you will need to complete the application through that scholarship's website, and then they will notify you directly, and then you would notify UNC Greensboro if you are awarded one of those outside scholarships. Whew, so much information. Before we give you a chance, and I know that there are questions that are being asked and answered on our Q&A site, but let's look at a few other things before we even address any of those questions that may be common themes. So how does this financial aid that I've been offered pay? How does it get applied? What happens? Accepted financial aid is automatically paid toward your tuition and fee bill 10 days before the start of classes, as long as all the requirements for that aid are satisfied. So if you've accepted student loans, I did mention that you have to complete a master promissory note. If you're accepting work study, of course, you have to have accepted it. Now, remember, I said that work study doesn't pay towards your bills. So, but in order to have a job, you do have to accept the work study. Aid pays toward direct charges, so tuition and fees if you're on campus, your housing, your food. If your aid exceeds your charges, once that bill has been paid, the Cashiers and Student Accounts Office does offer a refund. And then you will be notified of this as part of your orientation process, but there is a Title IV authorization form that allows students to have the aid that they've been offered cover charges, things like parking permits and student health insurance. And those are things that are not going to happen right away. So parking permits right now are not available for next year. Student health insurance waivers and sign up won't happen. You'll be prompted for all of that information as part of SOAR, as part of your orientation process. So be paying close attention in your admissions portal for all of that information. But I did want to point out that that is one of those pieces that will need to be done for financial aid to cover those expenses. Bills, how does it work? So again, speaking on behalf of our colleagues in the Cashiers and Student Accounts Office, they are the collectors. I like to say that financial aid, we are the givers, right? The Cashiers and Student Accounts, they're the takers. They collect the money. So bills are generated prior to each semester. Our fall billing date is in July. Spring bills go out in November. And the student bills include tuition and fees, and again, any on-campus housing, food expenses. Accepted aid will memo toward the bill, and what that means is it will show to the Cashiers and Student Accounts Office the aid that you have accepted. Know that your aid may cover your entire bill. It also may not cover your entire bill. I do want to show you a picture of a sample bill. And if we look at it, we see on one side the students, all of their charges. Know that tuition and fees, the fees are broken out as to where each of those charges go. You'll see in this student's case, there is housing and their meal plan is on there. Their tuition and fees, they have student health insurance on that charge. And then on the other side, it has their anticipated financial aid. And so much like what you saw in the slides at the beginning of this presentation, it appears on the bill actually, right? This is the student's bill, their actual charges, their actual financial aid. And then down at the bottom, it will show what the current balance is, the amount due. And so if there is an amount due, that is the balance that you would need to pay or set up a payment plan for. If it shows a zero balance or a negative balance, if there's a little minus sign in front of that number, that means that you have financial aid in excess of what your charges are. So answers to a frequently asked question, what about books? So you'll notice that we talked about books as an indirect expense. Here at UNCG, we have something called First Day Complete. It is a program for students to receive their course materials at a lower cost. This year, it was $19 a credit hour for all their course materials, and students will have them on the first day of class. So the process is to register for classes. The bookstore basically does the preparation of the First Day Complete books. So once you register, they get that information. They prepare all the book information. They let you know about your order. You verify that. And then you notify them of how you want to receive your textbooks. Now, you can opt out of First Day Complete. I don't know why you would. I think back to a long time ago when I was buying books and what those costs were. And I thinking about $19 a credit hour for books, that's a pretty good deal. So you can opt in or opt out. If you choose to opt in, it is a direct cost. It will be on your bill, the cost of First Day Complete. If you opt out, you will not have that charge paid to UNCG, but you'll have to buy books somewhere. And so know that that is still an expense, and it is still part of your cost of attendance. It's just where you will pay for those books. I will tell you, do your research before opting out, because First Day Complete is a really good deal. Okay, some resources. So UNCG's financial aid website is Spartan Central. I talked about NC Residency, so ncresidency.org. College Foundation for North Carolina's website, cfnc.org. There's links there for different payment options. There are some scholarships that the state of North Carolina offers in addition to Next NC. The Department of Education's Guide to Student Financial Aid is studentaid.gov. And then here at UNCG, we are very veteran friendly. We support our veterans and their families. So their link is military.uncg.edu. And then if you are questioning, have questions about veterans benefits, your veterans benefits.va.gov is the source for finding those. So how do you contact the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships? You can call us on the phone Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5. We do have a phone system that asks you to enter your university ID and PIN for student-specific information. There are also other ways to confirm your identity. And one of the things that we're very concerned about, and you'll hear as you go through the application process, is FERPA, which is the Privacy Act, keeping students' information safe. So we will ask for information to confirm identity, to verify that the person that we're asking to speak to is indeed student. You can email us. There is a contact form on Spartan Central. When you complete that contact form, you'll be asked questions about what you're asking a question about. And we try to respond a lot sooner than 2 business days. 2 business days is usually during our busy period. So at the beginning of each semester, it may take us a couple of days to respond. You can visit us in person. We also have virtual visits, and that's again Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. The QR code that's on the screen is the link to check in. So if you're on your way over, you can scan that link and log in for a visit. To do an in-person visit, you can also schedule a virtual visit where one of our frontline financial aid counselors will meet with you via Teams. And those are available between 9 a.m. and 5 as well. On Spartan Central, we also have a lot of information just on the website. And then we also have a chat bot. Our chat bot's name is Minnie. And Minnie's pretty smart, can answer a lot of questions about the financial aid process and about UNC Greensboro. But also, if Minnie can't answer the question, she will take your information and send us an email so that one of our live folks, not AI generated, can answer your question directly. Oh, I've been talking for a long time. Dawn, Leon, do we have questions in the chat bot that we might want to talk about for the good of the group? I think you might be muted. Can we hear you?
Hi, this is Leon from Financial Aid chiming in. I cannot hear Dawn. I am in the chat answering questions and stuff, but no, for some reason the mic isn't working. But I'm answering some questions. Even though Roberta, you might be able to answer this. Have all the final decisions been made for Chancellor and Spartan Scholarship in terms of those?
For
Admissions.
the Chancellor and Spartan Awards, I think Dawn is leaving and maybe coming into my office space, so I might have a guest joining me here.
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to my mic, so I'll just walk into Roberta's office and talk to you behind her, but her camera's not picking me up. So we will have a video available. We'll send it out to the people who registered for the session. So you'll be able to view that video. If you really want a copy of the presentation, you can email our financial aid office and we can send that out to you in a PDF version for your reference.
We had a question about Chancellors and Spartan, if all of the awards have been made.
We continuously package, but if you have received your award package and it's not on there, you are not likely to be receiving that at this point. As I stated, or as Roberta stated earlier, it is a very limited funded program, so we run out of money once we reach a certain point of offering so many awards. So we try to spread that out as much as we can to qualifying students. If we find that we have funds available later, we could go back and add those out there, but it's not at this point anticipated that we will. At UNCG, we don't really have full ride scholarships. I'm seeing a question about a full ride scholarship. It's unless you're an athlete on athletic scholarships, you probably won't find much in the way of that type of program here. We are a very low cost institution, and so that is meant to help keep those costs low to start with. And I know I'm flicking out on the screen. I apologize.
So one of the questions, and I saw in talking about cost of attendance and for the good of the group was how do we receive the financial aid money? So when you're awarded financial aid of all the different kinds, and if I can go back a couple of screens here. So to the bill, When you receive your bill, you will see all of your charges and you'll see all of your accepted financial aid. If your financial aid is greater than your charges, you may receive a refund, and the cashiers and student accounts generates that. They'll either send you a check, or as I mentioned earlier in the slides, if you set up direct deposit, they'll put that into your bank account, and that happens in the week before school starts each semester. Going through some other questions. So through the Honors College is one of those departments on campus that makes separate awards. And so if you are applying and are accepted to the Honors College, they would make the decisions on their scholarships. If we've not been accepted yet, should I not be waiting for an award? No, you should be waiting. Once you are admitted and we have your FAFSA, at that point, we will generate a financial aid award package for you. And the student will be notified of that through their admissions portal. So students are notified of bills, and parents that are on this webinar, I will tell you as the parent of a soon-to-be graduating college student, I'm proud that it's an adjustment. Bills are sent to the student. They are often emailed as opposed to mailed. Now here at UNC Greensboro, students for our cashiers and student accounts office can set up an authorized user. And again, this is something that'll happen as you get closer to orientation. In the cashier's office and student accounts office website, they can set up an authorized user so that you would actually get that billing information as well. Just going back and seeing. So one of the questions, and I think it was answered, but I'll just mention it here in reference to work study. If you were not offered work study, it may mean that you're not eligible, but it also may mean that we actually don't have any additional work study funds available. Each year we get a limited amount of work study funds from the Department of Education, the funds that we can use to offer to our students to have jobs on campus. You can certainly reach out via one of those contact methods on the last slide that I showed. And we can check to see if you have eligibility. Right now, we are beginning a wait list because we have exhausted all of the work study funds in an offered status, but we may have students that choose to decline work study. And at that point, we would go back and reoffer to those who might be eligible. I will also tell you that if you are not offered work study, that means you can't not work on campus. There are jobs on campus that do not require work study eligibility. As a matter of fact, we have almost twice as many students working jobs on campus this year that are not work study funded. So we are working to increase the number of our work study positions, but there are jobs available on campus that do not require work study eligibility. So one of the questions, if you are offered work study and you don't accept it, will it disappear? We will not remove it without notifying you first. Because it is in an offered status, anything that's in an offered status, we will not remove before giving you the option to go in and accept it. So certainly if you were offered it and you're thinking about it, not quite sure, we will not cancel it before notifying you and giving you the chance to make that decision.
All right, it looks like we have just over, or just under, I should say, 2 minutes. Roberta, I want to thank you so much for your presentation. I learned some stuff and I've already graduated from UNCG, so that was wonderful. Thank you to Dawn and Leon as well from the financial aid department. Please, if you have any questions, please, please, please reach out to financial aid, reach out to admissions, and we can refer you over to financial aid. And like mentioned, we have recorded this session, so we will be sending it out. But again, just wanted to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Hope you have a good rest of your evening, and we hope to see you on campus soon.
Go Spartans!